Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, we're off and running. It is another brand new live edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond hanging out with you until 9 a.m. on a chilly start to your Thursday morning. Happy December 1st, everyone. 31 degrees as you make your way into work, into school, so happy December. Hey, want to invite everybody to come on out on December 14th. It is a Wednesday, December 14th. You need to come to Flow Indoor Trampoline Park. It is the 97.7 ESPN The Zone Christmas party presented by our good friends over at Talent Heating and Air. And with it being cold, and if you do need to get that heater looked at or any kind of heating needs, give Talent Heating and Air a call today. Great guys. Locally owned company, great company. Give them a call today. But anyway, here's how it works. On December 14th, you come to Flow Indoor Trampoline Park from 4 to 8. And if we got to go past 8 because we're having too much fun, then we will. But all you got to do is bring a toy or a cash donation, and you get to enjoy the entire venue at Flow Indoor Trampoline Park for free. That's right. All you need to do is bring a toy. We're giving all our toys to Toys for Tots. It's our toy drive for Toys for Tots. So if you got a family, heck, if you got kids and you want to bring their entire class because you want to do a little party there, have every one of them bring a toy, and they all can enjoy Flow Indoor Trampoline Park for free. Even the adults can. It's for the family. It's for everybody. Get on out there and enjoy it again. Mark your calendars for Wednesday, December 14th from 4 to 8. The 97.7 ESPN The Zone Christmas party presented by Flow Indoor Trampoline Park. All right, we got a lot of good stuff. 256-576-4977. That is how you can get a hold of us on the show this morning. We've got a lot of great stuff to get through today. The Rose Bowl, we mentioned that yesterday. The Rose Bowl facing a deadline. Did they meet it? Did they not meet it? Will they be a part of the college football playoffs? We'll fill you in on that. UAB officially introduces Trent Dilfer as their new head coach. We'll hear from him. One coach in the Tennessee Valley steps away, retiring after 27 years on the sidelines. We'll talk about that. Got a lot of great stuff to get through here on our Thursday edition of Talking Ball. And that is where we start this morning. And let's see here. That is where we start. After 27 years on the sidelines, 187 wins, second in all-time wins in Decatur school history. Long time head coach. One of the good guys in high school football, Jared Adcock, is retiring from the game. His team went 9-3 this year. They made it to the second round of the 6A playoffs. And we had a chance to visit with him a couple times as our team of the week over the last couple seasons. And still, one of the great guys, one of the greatest guys in high school football, and one of the first guys that I had a chance to meet when I first got here and started doing high school football in the late 90s, early 2000s. Still, fantastic guy. Sad to see him step away from the game.
Yeah, it is, Scott, but, we had gotten some intel a couple years ago that he wanted to see this senior class through. He thought it was a special group, and he hit it right on the head. It was a bullseye. This was a senior class that he felt like could reestablish Decatur football, and as a one of the better programs in North Alabama, and they certainly did. And he did a remarkable job in 27 years at Decatur, and they had a really good year this year. They were 9-3, and as he said last night from Auburn, he's down there for the Super 7. He thought that if the stars aligned, that the team could have made a state championship run. Didn't quite work out. They were in a very tough region, and they made the second round of the state playoffs. But again, he wanted to go out, I think, on a positive note with this group. Certainly, he's, as you said, he's the second longest tenured coach since Shorty Ogle, and Shorty Ogle, who is named, the stadium is named after, was there, I think, from 33 to 63. And so Coach was there for 27 years. Coach Adcock, after taking over for the great Steve Rivers, and and you just don't see that nearly as much anymore. Guys staying and being a part of the community and becoming part of the fabric. And it's going to be different without him there. It'll be interesting. I think he's still got a high energy level. We were around him this year. You just talked about them being one of our Bryant Bank teams of the week, and they were. And he certainly, he was, I thought very engaged and, very energized. It's going to be interesting to see what he transitions to because, certainly he's decided to step away at least right now from football. I read his quotes last night from AL.com. It sounded like he said he had another good 10 years left in him, but he didn't mention football. He just mentioned maybe transitioning to another job. We'll see what that is, whether it's a private school administration. I still think he should certainly consider coaching private school football and influencing young men because I think he's one of the best there is, that we've ever dealt with. And he did it for the right reasons, and he stayed at Decatur because he loved the area and he loved that program. And and the consistency was always there. Nearly got 200 wins, which is extremely difficult to do. And so we just always appreciate him and appreciate his access that he gave us and what he did for Decatur High School and for North Alabama.
All right, 256-576-4977. That's how you can join the program this morning. And we talked about it yesterday, kind of towards the end of our show, and that would be what was going to happen with the Rose Bowl. Were they going to be a part of the 2024 college football playoffs, or were they going to sit on the sidelines? But late last night, it did come out that the Rose Bowl and the college football playoffs have agreed to terms that'll pave the way for the college football playoffs to expand in the final 2 seasons of the current deal. So it's now looking like we will get a 12-team playoff beginning in 2024 and 2025, and then they'll have that new deal. It's not known what the Rose Bowl gave into. They did want to keep their January 1st date and their TV time slot, but they had to be a little bit of flexibility there, and we believe that all kind of is going to happen. But the Rose Bowl did join it in, so we will get a 12-team playoff now in 2024.
Yeah, we will. I think the College Football Playoff Committee called the Rose Bowl's bluff, and the Rose Bowl didn't want to be told to kick rocks because that's what they would have been told. Because it would have, they still would have had a playoff without the Rose Bowl. They don't need the Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl needs a playoff. So, I don't give a rat's rear end about their history and what they've done. It's great. It's meant a lot to a lot of people. But, if you don't basically change and if you don't adapt, you die. And so that's what you have to do. I don't care about a parade. I don't care about January the 1st. A lot of games have moved. It's not the way it used to be. I know some people don't like it, but deal with it. And everybody wanted a bigger piece of the pie and more money and a bigger playoff. So if there's going to be a bigger playoff, you're going to have to move. Okay? And now the next thing people are going to bitch about, and I can't wait for it, is when the SEC has 3 or 4 teams in every year, but that's what's going to happen because the SEC is the best league. And I would say at least 3. So, that's definitely going to be a factor, no question about it. And so it's going to be really interesting because the SEC would have gotten 3 or 4 in this year. Because of Tennessee, because of Alabama, LSU maybe not. Only if they pulled the upset against Georgia and won the SEC title. But then if that's not beyond the realm of possibility.
Right.
So you could have seen the SEC having 4 teams in.
With the current rankings as they are, this is how your 12-team playoff would have stacked up going into this weekend. Your matchups would be 8th-ranked Penn State versus 9th-ranked Clemson. The winner would get top-ranked Georgia. 5th-ranked Ohio State would take on 12th-ranked Tulane, with the winner getting 4th seed USC. 7th-ranked Tennessee would take on 10th-ranked Kansas State. Winner gets number 2 seed Michigan. And then 6th seed would be Alabama. 11th, they would get Utah as 11th seed, with the winner getting 3rd-ranked TCU. So that's how a 12-team playoff would have stacked up right now had we had that, and we will get it in 2024. So Alabama would have gotten in, Tennessee would have gotten in, Georgia would have gotten in. The Pac-12 would have 2 teams, surprisingly, in there. The ACC one, the Big Ten, would have they'd have 2 teams as well. The ACC would be the odd conference out. They would only have just 1 team in there, and they would be hanging on to Clemson. So.
Yeah, and that's and that makes sense because the ACC is the worst Power 5 league in the country right now. I don't think it's really close.
Wow, how fast did that just disintegrate?
Well, it's been happening. If you followed it the last 2 to 3 years, it's been getting progressively worse. It's about as pathetic as Syracuse basketball right now. In as far as ACC basketball is in my opinion is almost one of the reasons I think Roy Williams and Coach K got out of it, because the ACC right now is weak. And I'm talking about weak all the way through, no matter what sport you talk about. And so and the big 2 are basketball and football. But the ACC used to rule the roost in basketball. I mean, it used to be you could have 10, 11 teams that could be, NCAA tournament contenders,
right,
and get in the big dance in basketball. Now Louisville's 0-7. Now part of that is because of the end of the Chris Mack era and all these NCAA investigations, and they're trying to dig their way out of a hole. But they're 0-7, man. They're awful. Syracuse, Jim Boeheim has outlasted all of them. Coach K, Roy Williams. You look at it, all these guys that he's coached against, the late John Thompson. We always forget because, heck, he won 2 national championships. But Jay Wright at Villanova, longtime coach, he's outlasted all these cats. But then you look at Syracuse's program right now, and they're not very good.
Right.
And so it's just interesting that the ACC, now it goes in cycles. At one time, 4 or 5 years ago, the ACC was decent in football, pretty good.
And the Pac-12 was the one that was the
And
the
now
weakest.
I will say this. The ACC, one good thing that we've seen is Florida State begin to reemerge.
Right.
So that will help the ACC, no doubt about it. And what's going to be interesting with with them is their TV rights deal. It's a lot. We've already made no bones about that. When you compare it to the big money television deals that the Big Ten's making and the SEC, can they keep their league together? Because right now, what we always say, what if all this conference realignment? What if Florida State and Clemson wanted to go to the SEC? So and you talk about these super conferences, you almost wonder, is the ACC going to disintegrate?
With a 12-team playoff, will we see more of these super conferences, or do you think that because now that 12 teams are going to be able to get in, we might not need to see all these big conferences form?
Well, that's going to be some of the collateral damage we see. Is it going to cause more realignment, or is it going to stabilize things? We don't know. I will say this, with all these conference networks now and everything, these I just think a lot of these universities need to get with it and start committing to the sport. In other words, the money that it's going to take if you want to be competitive.
Right.
I'll give Clemson credit. They certainly have paid Dabo well. They've upgraded their facilities. Florida State has had trouble with that because they have not had the deepest booster base. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Mike Norvell and him starting to turn it around if they start trying to fortify their program a little bit more. The one thing I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 years, and good Lord, this first year has been brutal. But they need Miami to be good.
Woo, my goodness.
And Miami is, oh my Lord.
Did you hear what happened during that Pitt game?
No, I'll be honest with you. I tend not to pay attention to Miami because they stink.
So all season long, from the campus on Coral Gables down to Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah.
The school provided they provided buses.
Buses to the games, yeah.
You could bus down to the game and watch the Miami Hurricanes.
Gotcha.
For the Pitt game,
Uh-huh.
zero buses were needed for students. Nobody showed up to go down to the Pitt game for Miami.
Nice. Zero.
I
mean, I've been saying they have pathetic fan support, man. It's the biggest bunch of front-running bandwagon people you ever saw in your life. There's a ton to do in Miami. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's South Beach, okay?
No, there is.
There's a lot of distractions, but and the Dolphins are good, okay? Because they finally have a head coach who knows what a forward pass looks like and is not an idiot who trades away all the best players. So, but Miami, it's always been that way. It's always been a situation where they have to play high-quality opponents. They have to draw people in. And I still say this, too. It re-emphasizes they need an on-campus facility so bad where you're not having to bus your students to a game.
Yeah. That's true.
You need something. It needs to be an on-campus experience, man. And especially with all the choices of things to do in Miami. And so that's one of the things that needs to happen if they want to become a contender in the ACC again. And the ACC, if they're going to be good the way they're constituted, they need Miami, Florida State, of course, along with Clemson to be good. They need Mac Brown to continue to help North Carolina resurface. And I'll say this, we haven't talked about him hardly at all, except for me to talk about Riley Leonard just a little bit because he's from Fairhope and Mobile. But, hey, man, I got to give Mike Elko a lot of credit. Now, it's probably because the league is bad and it's been easier for them to gain traction, but you got to give him credit that Duke is 8-4 in his first year and going to a bowl game. Yeah. That's pretty freaking good.
Well, it goes to show you how good David Cutcliffe did to keep
and
Elko comes
he went to some bowls. He got a much more competitive, and he left some good players, obviously. But you got to give Mike Elko a lot of credit, then he got away from Dirt Neck to save his career.
Yeah, that's a dumpster fire.
Because the Titanic was sinking, brother.
That outcome is never good.
Yeah, it
was good.
We brought through the game, and Bandyman and those guys were doing the call. It was a good high school basketball game last night. Congrats to the Buckhorn Bucks on their 55-52 win over Huntsville. Got a chance to see a good friend, Shelby Hunter of the show, and his girlfriend, and she came up to me and said, "I hear you don't like Jimbo Fisher very much," and I don't. And of course,
I hear you don't like. Apparently,
yeah. Well, Shelby is a diehard, and I mean diehard. This is not a bandwagon situation.
Right.
Shelby Hunter is a diehard Seminole. We're talking going to games.
Oh yes.
He went to New Orleans for the LSU game, and they were there front and center. He went to see them play Louisiana on campus at Florida State. He has even messaged me before to tell me about their facility upgrades. He knows everything that's going on at Florida State. And they seem to be getting behind Mike Norvell, so that's extremely.
He's turning that program around.
And he quietly has done that. He received a lot of criticism the first 2 years, but look, it wasn't his fault. When you go through Jimbo Fisher just leaving it like scorched earth, and then you hire Willie Fired, because that's basically should be his nickname, because he's already been fired 2 more times.
Yes, he has.
So and you hire Willie Taggart, who's completely over his head. You have to clean it up. And that's what he's done in 3 years. He's got him much more competitive now.
Jeff from the Borough with us real fast this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
I was y'all talking about the Rose Bowl. I guess they finally got a gun put their head, and I guess we're going to expand playoffs. It's amazing how we do hypotheticals. It's amazing that Tennessee fans wanted the playoff expanded. I wonder why. They wanted it expanded.
Well, everybody, you have to sit there and look at the 12 teams or the 8 other teams, I should say, not 12, but the 8 other teams that are on the outside looking in right now. They all want to, they all wish that this was the year that they started the 12-team playoffs, because they all, you'd have 8 more teams in there.
Yeah,
but I'm saying it's amazing how we go back. Well, 2015 it'd be blah blah blah. Now we go back. Let's go back to the state tournament. Well, it was 48 teams. Let's go back and see who was in it back in 19 whatever. It's amazing how we do that. Which I don't really care if they expand it. I'll be honest with you, but the Rose Bowl is, and I know Drew don't like to hear this, but the granddaddy of them all, number one. See, Sugar Bowl wasn't number one. I bet Drew likes the history of the Sugar Bowl more he does the history of the Rose Bowl. I'll bet you that on that, $1 on that.
The Rose Bowl has the longest history, Jeff, but you have to adapt eventually. You can't just stay the same day, stay the same time.
But I bet you, I'm trying the history of the Sugar Bowl on you the Rose Bowl. So I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Because I can tell you right now, if the West Coast, if all them states fell off in the ocean, you probably love it. And another thing, too, I heard about a blue wave was going to happen in this country during the elections, but I saw where Gretchen Whitmer won her election, and somebody in Wisconsin won, too. So the Democrats did pretty well that night. It wasn't no big red wave like everybody thought it was going to be. Now, in the South, it's that way because that's just the way it is down here. But other states, see, Gretchen Whitmer has got some sense. I wish she was president right now because she don't look at no political ways. She just tells people in Michigan, baby, I'm governor, and you deal with it. If you don't like it, you get out. I'm going to do what I do. And if you don't like it, just leave it to another state. Like Wolverine, he's going down to Huntsville and be warm if he wants to. He ain't got to stay up in Michigan. He froze to death when he was a kid. Now he wants to be warm. Like all the rest of these northerners, when he comes down here and get warm. What the mouse do. So she don't feel the political way. She just does what she wants to and runs that state as she wants to. And I'd vote for her every time. I'd vote for her president of the United States. She run in 2024. I'd vote for her. She run. But she probably won't do it, but I'd vote for her. But I mean, it's just the way it is. That system we got, it's 4 teams right now. When it's 12, it'll be, when it's 20, whatever it is, it'll be expand. It's like the NCAA tournament. They start with 16, 32. It'll be 300 for long, and everybody will be in, and the season won't mean nothing. It's like that's what Greg Sankey wants, and the rest of them, where it don't mean anything.
And Kentucky would have a chance. All right, Jeff. Thanks for the phone call.
I'll just say this: we've learned beyond a shadow of a doubt why Jeff's an idiot. We just told you why with how he'd vote.
We're gonna get a break in.
Hey,
I know.
He just removed it all, man. He just laid it out there for everybody.
Let's get a break in. Wolverine Dan, you're when we back. You're up next when we get back.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a wreck reported at Ready Section in Carter Grove. That one's got an overturned vehicle involved. They're paging it out with injury and possible entrapment. Got one on the off-ramp, I-65 northbound at the 334. That's the Priceville exit. That one's coming in as an injury type. D&L Refrigeration repairs heating and air conditioning units for homes and businesses. D&L 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on 2 services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatewitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
Sometimes the best things in life are right in front of you. When's the last time you took time to enjoy everything Montesano State Park has to offer? So close to home, just 5 miles from downtown Huntsville, Montesano State Park sits on over 2,000 acres with spectacular vistas from atop Montesano Mountain. And right now is a great time to visit and enjoy all the fall colors. In just a few months, spring will arrive with native azaleas in bloom along the 20 miles of hiking trails and 14 miles of biking trails. And no matter when you visit, you can enjoy time in one of 11 stone cabins with working fireplaces, built in 1930 by the Civilian Conservation Corps. These historic cabins all sit on a bluff line that offers beautiful views from their screened-in porches. Prefer a more primitive camping experience? Montesano State Park offers improved and primitive camping year-round. If you're ready to take some time to slow down and get away, log on allapark.com and make your reservation now. That's allapark.com.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials. $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints. $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget football trivia every Sunday night at 6. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Attorney Tommy Sinyard on behalf of Sinyard Law, and again proud to be a sponsor of all things football here on ESPN Radio. My son Bart and I started our own law firm July 1 and are very proud and excited to be bringing you our 50 years of collective national award-winning injury trial law experience. Check us out on the web, sinyardlaw.com.
Sinyard Law, nationally recognized, locally respected.
It's the time of year when football is in the air, and that means cool, crisp fall temperatures are just around the corner. It also means that your home's heating system needs to be checked out before you wake up one morning with no heat. Give Environmental Comfort Systems a call. Visit our website at envcomfort.com. We are your independently owned American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Alabama license number 92314. Environmental Comfort Systems. That's envcomfort.com.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to Talking Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. On a cold start to your Wednesday or Thursday morning, I should say. And 256-576-4977, that's how you can join the program this morning. Just like Wolverine Dan's doing. Good morning, sir.
What's up, Dan?
What's up, fellas? Listen, I had two things I want to talk about, but I added one after what I just heard. You know what I'm talking about. I was from that state, okay? I'm going to tell you what. Not only was she a dictator, making everybody wear a freaking mask, she shut all the businesses down. She ruined the state, okay? Now, let me get this straight. This is coming from a guy that knows this stuff, okay? All right? In Michigan, your taxes for the same house you have here, like, for instance, in Huntsville, I would pay $600 to $800. In Michigan, where that tree hugger governor lives, you're looking at $6,000 to $7,000.
Nice.
And you know what? So it's a big pile of hot, steamy mess that she's producing. So, Jeff, if you want to live there, I moved down here 25 years ago, and I've been, guys, I think I've been on this air longer than you two have been on this air. I've been here for 25 years on this air, and a lot of it credit due to Tom Abraham and his show. And, some people, sometimes I say things, maybe you think you scratch your head, but majority of the time I think I speak just like an average blue-collar guy. I get it, okay? But I don't think Jeff got it. I mean, if you want to live in a smelly, stinky mess with paying all that kind of money to live in a smelly, stinky mess, Jeff, go for it, brother. You can go back up there because I'm staying right here in Hunts Vegas.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
I don't think Jeff gets a lot of things.
Oh, I know.
That's okay.
Trust me, I've heard of some of the backlash too that the great governor of Michigan has received from her own state residents. So if they, but I totally agree with Dan. And like I said, man, Jeff just removed all doubt. I think we all realized that he was going to be on the Moron of the Year plaque. But hey.
Well, I wouldn't say he's a moron. He's an intelligent guy. He writes for a newspaper or something. Maybe that's the reason why I think he's leaning left. But what I don't understand is that, and I'm going to give my two takes real quick after this. One more thing is that what I understand, fellas, I thought America was about freedom.
Yeah.
And when your government, your own government, that gets paid quite well and probably a whole lot better retirement that we're all going to make here as just regular Gentiles here. Bottom line is, I don't get it while you want to vote for something like that. Yeah, I'll raise my hand. I want to pay $6,000 a year for taxes. I don't think so. So with that said, yeah, I mentioned the fact I've been on this air for 25 years. And you know what? I've been proud to. It's an honor. And not only your station, but other stations, we all know what they are. But the bottom line is I'm proud to be here. I've always told you, Drew, and you knew this, Scott, is that I love the state. I love the people. I'm not crazy about the football team. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And you know what? I'm not a homer. You know I'm not a homer. I mean, not a homer. I'm sorry. A fly-by-night, come by late Johnny. I'll root for the team when it's doing well. I've been with all my teams, to this day, still all my teams, because you know what? That's what you call a loyal fan that loves his team. Once you fall in love with a team, man, you just never stop falling in love with a team. So let's say that. Now, I'm going to ask both you guys, and I need your opinion on this. I mean, if you want an opinion on it, fine. Don't do it if you don't want to do it. I'm not worried about two games in these championships because there's low points to be spread either way. The two that really concern me, I'm speaking of the Georgia LSU and the Michigan Purdue game. Georgia LSU is 17 points, I believe they're given, and Michigan is given 15. Try to convince me either way where you think it might go at the end of the game.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about this weekend, I think even if Corum doesn't play a lot, they've already proven they could beat Ohio State badly without him. I think Michigan is going to cover. I think that's going to be a situation where that's going to be a blowout. I think the other three games are going to be competitive, even LSU. I think LSU has the capability of playing with Georgia. I think Georgia will pull away in the fourth quarter. I think LSU's a well-coached team. I think they'll get up off the mat after they just played terribly against Texas A&M. But I think I've got to believe with the SEC championship at stake, they're going to play better football. With the ACC, I think that I barely even think about that game, but I think Clemson will win over North Carolina. I don't know if it'll be impressive. I would say 7 to 10 points. Because I haven't really been enamored with Clemson all year in that game. I think the Pac-12 game could be a really good game. I mean, that's going to be a situation where Utah beat them, and SC, lost by 1 point. Utah went for 2 and beat them late. I would take SC in the game, but I think it's going to be
2.5 spread.
Yeah, I would say a touchdown or less, Southern Cal to win. I think that'll be the Friday night game. And then the Big 12, I think.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas State won that one simply because it is a rematch.
Well, yeah, and K-State's well coached, and so I think that if there was going to be an upset of these major championship games, the Power 5 ones, I would say that would be it. I would say K-State finally getting TCU, but I think it's going to be a one-score game either way.
And that one, though, being played in Arlington,
you'd
have to give TCU a huge advantage because, it's like a 10-minute, 20-minute drive from campus.
Yeah.
So, they may have
they'll probably have the majority of the crowd, even though I think K-State's fans will turn out as well.
So, anyway, in review real quickly, just the one game, because the other ones you answered my question. So, the Georgia game, is the LSU quarterback, he had a high ankle sprain. Is he going to play this weekend? And do you think, again, will Georgia cover the 17 points?
I would say in the end that Georgia probably does not.
You think it's closer than 17?
I think it'll be double digits, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer. Like what I mean is, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 34-21 type game, something like that. Now, you bring up a good point, Dan, and we're going to ask Matt Moscona about that in hour 2. How healthy is Jaden Daniels? Because he did take a physical beating against Texas A&M. So I got to believe he's going to play, though, and he's going to strap it up and play. They're going to tape him up. His mobility is very important, so if he is kind of a sitting duck back there, then LSU might be in trouble of getting blown out. But I got to believe Brian Kelly's a good enough coach, and they got enough talent where they can stay in the game, but winning the game is a completely different connotation. I think Georgia knows they're already in the playoff, but they want to win the SEC because, hey, that's something they didn't do last year.
Right.
They've done it once under Kirby. They'd like to win the SEC again, and I think they're going to win it, and we're going to talk to Brooks Austin about that at the top of this next hour. But I think the matchup definitely favors Georgia, and did even if Jaden Daniels was 100%. But I would not be surprised if, for example, Will Levis was beat to a pulp, but Kentucky played him 16-6.
Yeah,
it was an ugly game, but they stayed in it, and I think LSU can stay in it with Matt House and that defense.
All right, Wolverine Dan, thanks for the phone call, but we got to move on.
Thanks, Dan.
Let's get to Brandon real fast. Good morning, Brandon.
What's up?
Well, I see the Rose Bowl went to the back of the bus, and they shut their mouth.
Well, you have to, man, if you want to stay a part of it.
Yeah, they haven't put out what they've agreed to, as far as the time slot and the dates and more
Jeff's
flexibility.
probably typing that up for him.
Yeah, but, the whole thing was flexibility, and they have agreed to that somewhat.
Yeah, because you can't draw a line in the sand and say we're only going to play this game at a certain time of the day and hold everybody else hostage. I just sent Drew a video of, these wonderful Democrat cities where they're going through an Apple store and just ripping stuff out, tearing stuff up. I understand that Ohio State has already said, please don't ask us to come there. So that tells you right there that that's not a desirable destination. That place is losing its luster a little more. I understand that it may be the oldest. It's got the Rose Bowl parade, but those things are not as big anymore. You've got to be willing to deal, and you got to be willing to play ball. And when you're just going to say, well, we're only going to do this on our terms, I wish they really would have left them behind. Then they'd come back begging to have been part of it, because that place would have been an imploded NASCAR track from the 1960s in a few years.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Brandon. I believe Ohio State beat Utah last year, but you barely remember what happened in the actual Rose Bowl. What you remember is the playoff. And that's why they're wanting to expand it to include more bowl games. And I think it's going to be good. But, I would agree with you. If the Rose Bowl finally had to zip it and just, play ball, because otherwise you're going to become irrelevant. Nobody's going to care, because if you're the Rose Bowl and you're not included in an expanded college football playoff, people aren't going to watch. They're going to be like, oh, it's the granddaddy of them all, like Jeff from the Dumbo just said. Come on. There's no way.
You're trying to prove that you are the, premier.
That you're above the playoff.
Yeah.
That everybody is still going to watch.
You're snubbing your nose at the playoffs by not including him in there.
You're snubbing your nose at it.
Right.
And you're like, okay, we're more important than the playoff. People are going to watch the Rose Bowl just because it's the granddaddy of them all.
And think about this. Because if 2 or 3 Big Ten teams, let's say 2 Big Ten teams, let's say Michigan and Ohio State make it into the playoffs, then your third team from the Big Ten goes to the Rose Bowl. Yeah.
Then Jeff's sitting there watching it with his burnt popcorn, hoping it's Kentucky.
Well, I guess
and his flat Coke.
Yeah.
The Rose Bowl and all these other bowl games have been locked into a point where they can only take certain teams every year. And I get that if you're Alabama or you're Georgia or you're Clemson, loading up to go to Pasadena is not a small feat. You can get in your car and you can drive to the Sugar Bowl. If you really want to, you can drive to the Orange Bowl. But you recycle usually these same good teams in and out of your cities to the point to where they get tired of coming there. I think at some point they should have changed it out a little bit to where some of these teams that have not been there would have a chance to go there. Correct me if I'm wrong. When Georgia played Oklahoma there in the playoff in, what was that, 17?
Yeah, when they came back to beat Baker,
That's one of the first times I think an SEC team has been out there, unless it was a national championship game, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's the deal with the Rose Bowl. If it's a non-playoff year, they stay to the Big Ten Pac-12 matchup. If it's a playoff year, then they go with the playoff teams.
Yeah, and you would think they would mix in the Mountain West or mix somebody in that's reasonably close so that you're getting exposure to people that haven't been there. And that's why, I'll be honest with you, a lot of Alabama fans, they've been to the Sugar Bowl plenty of times, and they're just not interested in going to that same location anymore. It's nice to be able to go to places you haven't been. That's why when Alabama goes to Touchdown Jesus, I promise you I'm going to be there, because that'll be the only time I ever have a reason to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all interesting. I mean,
Scott covered it. It's why there was such a big deal back in 2009 when Alabama went to the Rose Bowl, because the Rose Bowl had played a big part in Alabama football history back in the 20s and things of that nature when they first established themselves as a Southern football power, and the South started gaining ground because, again, back in those days, the press and the media, it's all Northeast related and the West Coast. They didn't give much thought to the South and being good at football. But that's why the nostalgia for the Rose Bowl was what it was when Alabama went out there in 2009. And it was a really big deal. And you had Texas and you had Alabama, and it was really cool. And so it was a great experience. And I had friends that went out there. They paid big bucks for the tickets because of the experience and wanting to go out there.
Putting second mortgages on their houses, trying everything they could to get out there to watch that Alabama game because, one, it had been so long since Alabama had played in a title game. And two, they didn't know if they were going to get back there. No one saw all this coming run. And so you took that chance. You thought it was going to be a once-in-a-lifetime chance. You took that chance. You went out there. And lo and behold, you had the next year and then a couple years after that.
Yeah, back-to-back in 11 and 12,
So anyway, but it's a fantastic venue. I will say this. The Rose Bowl is a fantastic venue to watch a football game. It is truly amazing to watch a football game in there. The sunsets, beautiful. I mean, it's everything that they describe it to be. But just like anything else, the Rose Bowl hung on as long as they could. But it is time for them to make concessions, and they made concessions.
Just stop running out of beer.
I wanted to go to that Rose Bowl game in 2009.
Yeah.
But my wife was already 3 days past the date that we were supposed to have our first child.
Oh.
I told a buddy of mine, I was like, am I going to be that dude that gets on a plane? And my wife calls about the time we land and says, I'm in labor. I was like, can't do it. Wished I could. Got to be a better husband than that. So I did not get to go to that one.
Right.
All right, Brandon, thanks for that phone call, but we do got to move on.
Thank you.
All right, let's get to Hot Rod with us this morning real fast. Good morning, Hot Rod.
What's up, Hot Rod?
Hey, how y'all doing this morning, guys?
Good, sir.
Hey, couple questions. The receiver that put in for the transfer portal on the offensive side for Alabama yesterday, what was the story behind that?
Trayshawn Holden, I'm sure that he probably felt like even though he's second on the team in touchdown catches, that it wasn't a big enough part of the offense. And if you watched the last, I guess, 3 or 4 games, his reps went way down as far as his actual plays on the field, and he was only on the field for a handful of plays in the Iron Bowl, and it was targeted a few times, and one of them, of course, being the slip screen where he scored a touchdown from 27 yards out, but he wasn't a huge part of the rotation. There was a couple games where he didn't play at all down the stretch, so he hadn't played as much lately, and I think Bryce is also moving on. Everybody knows that. He's moving on. They're going to have a new QB, and there's some younger receivers behind him, I think, that are more talented. and I think he probably sees the writing on the wall that his playing time as the season went on decreased, and he's got 1 year left of eligibility, really, I believe, and so he's moving on. I mean, the interesting part is going to be where he lands. His high school coach at St. Francis, Biff Poggi, that was when he was a junior because he actually moved out to Narbonne in California, but he's actually took over at Charlotte, so he has a connection there. But it'll be interesting to see where Trayshawn winds up. But I think there was more talented guys behind him, and I think he didn't want to take the chance. A, you're breaking in a new quarterback,
right?
And B, how big a role are you going to have on the offense going forward?
Okay. There's a lot of speculation that Bill O'Brien's going to move on. If he does move on, are you hearing any names for the OC?
No, not really. I mean, you see the usual, social media speculation. Garrett Riley's probably been mentioned for every open OC job. I mean, but of course, he's probably going to be a head coaching candidate at one of these group of 5 schools. Also, I mean, certainly he and Sonny Dykes are joined at the hip with TCU success. So I'm sure they'd like to give him a raise and get him to stay, but we'll see. That's a name that's been thrown out there. But as far as just names, no, I haven't heard anybody that's gained any traction. Like a couple of years ago, Bill O'Brien was seen around the facility, and you knew after he got let go by the Houston Texans, and he and Coach Saban had history, and they're both Belichick guys, that was probably going to happen. But I have not heard. One name I heard last night that's going to be interesting, and heck, I mean, last year when they won 10 games, his staff just got raided. But I would watch Charlie Weiss Jr. Charlie Weiss Jr. worked for Coach Saban as an analyst for several years and is considered a up-and-coming young offensive mind. So we will see. That could be another name to watch. But concrete, no, I have not heard anything with any traction yet. I don't think a lot of the movement is going to happen until after the bowl game.
I got you. As far as the defense, they really need a complete overhaul, including a strength and conditioning coach. But do you think this is his last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Short and sweet on that answer. Short and sweet.
All right, guys.
All right, thanks.
Y'all have a good day, okay?
All right, thanks, Rod. All right, let's get that break in. We've got to wrap up hour 1 when we come back. 256-576-4977.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a single car wreck at Sparkman and Aspen. That one's reported with injuries. 72 in Lucas Ferry in Limestone County. Apparently no injury, but lots of blockage. Ready section in Carter Grove has an overturned vehicle with injury. They reported entrapment, but I think they canceled rescue on it. I-65 northbound 334 mile marker. That's Priceville. That one's reported with an injury. Are you over 35 and overweight? 7 different hormones can make it impossible for you to lose weight. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
We love our pets, and when we need boarding or vet services, we want the best. That's why we chose Paradise Pet Resort and Spa. Everything our pets needed, all in one place. Boarding for both dogs and cats. Doggy daycare, grooming and spa services, web cameras, and top-notch vet care, too. It's a true Paradise Pet Resort for your furry friends, serving all of North Alabama. Find out everything you need to know and book services online at ParadisePetResortandSpa.com. Located in Madison, just off 565 at Walt Triana, behind Cracker Barrel.
Do you know that your car or truck or SUV may be worth up to 30 or 40% more than it was last year? It's true. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and now is the perfect time to trade in, trade up to a gold certified or blue certified pre-owned car, truck, SUV, or crossover. While our new vehicle inventory continues to build back, our Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles are nearing 100 models to choose from, and a good variety too. Woody Anderson Ford Gold certified vehicles are 6 years or younger with less than 80,000 miles and have passed 172-point inspection by factory certified technicians. They have a 14-day, 1,000-mile money-back guarantee, a great comprehensive limited warranty, 24-hour roadside assistance, and go home with full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. Get nearly a new ride and none of the worries. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan Spartman, hope to see you soon.
Are you in the market for a recreational vehicle? Do you want to get out and see more of this beautiful country? Well, imagine hearing the laughter of your little ones enjoying gooey s'mores by a cozy campfire and making lasting memories with your friends and family from the comfort of a new camper. We can make your dreams come true at Hall's RV. With over 15 years in the camping business, we know how to get our customers into the perfect camper. We have several models and floor plans here for you to choose from, both new and used. We're family owned and operated with fantastic deals and great service. Everyone wants to work with people they can trust, so come on down to Hall's RV and get the deal of a lifetime. We'll treat you right and get you on the road in the camper of your dreams. Visit us on Highway 431 in Albertville. Hall's RVs, where we sell fun. Or see us on the web at www.hallsrvsales.com.
Welcome back. Stan McDonald from the Stanton Law Firm. I had lunch with Lewis just recently and with a client of ours, a mutual client, and great to hear all the good things going on at the Stanton Law Firm.
Thank you, Wes. The Stanton Law Firm, as you know, we've discussed before, we're dirt lawyers. We do a lot of real estate, litigation and closing. And yes, my son Lewis McDonald enjoyed meeting you a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of your friends. He is, as you know, he's opened up a commercial closing division. So he's really helping a lot of people who are trying to close, buy, or sell on their commercial property. And you can't be in this community doing business without knowing Wes neighbors.
I don't know about that, but sure was getting to meet another McDonald and talking a little bit about his grandfather, Coach Dye, and
Right.
the different things. It was a lot of fun.
Well, your listeners are really going to enjoy meeting Lewis and you in this community. And like I said, at Jacob Title or the Stanton Law Firm, we close business. We do some good commercial closings, residential closings. We appreciate being part of your show.
Hi, this is Chris Stewart. The quest for a 19th championship starts this fall. Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
I'm on vacation every single day.
Welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Yeah, and if you're in Michigan, you're probably not taking a vacation.
Look, there are some fine people in Michigan.
They really are.
And then there's
They've
not
got
some fine
sense.
people. But there are some people that do have sense in Michigan.
Yeah, they'd probably have to take a vacation down here so they could afford it.
I don't know. I've bought in groceries down here the past few times, a couple weeks, and it's costed me quite a bit. So
Well, you couldn't find like pork. What was it? Seasoning or whatever it was. You couldn't find that was sold out for Thanksgiving.
Oh man, what was it? Poultry seasoning.
Poultry seasoning. That's what it was.
Poultry seasoning
That
and
was sold out.
sage was so hard to find. Sage, I
Yeah.
can understand. Poultry seasoning was so
that's what
hard
it
to
was.
find.
Poultry seasoning was hard to find.
It was.
Because you were shopping for like 3 hours.
I went to 3 or 4 different stores and couldn't find poultry seasoning.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that poultry seasoning couldn't have been harder to find than these Christmas tree cakes that Brandon keeps talking about. I have not been able to find a single box.
I am disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
Because when I was Thanksgiving Day shopping before Thanksgiving,
You saw some and you
pre-Thanksgiving,
didn't get any, did you?
I saw the chocolate ones and the regular ones. Saw them on the thing, and I thought, well, I've got to come back to the store in a few days. I'm
Yeah.
going to get them then, and they were gone. And I am disappointed in myself.
Well, we need to go to this Paul Crew. We appreciate Paul Crew. He told us where they were. We need to go to this place on Bailey Cove. That he's told us about.
I went to the I just went to the Walmart down on Bailey Cove,
yeah.
and they were gone.
They
They
were
were
gone.
out.
Yeah, and Brandon's been trying to tell us this.
So I found them, and I kicked.
I bought one at a gas station. I told y'all what I did, and it was a vanilla one.
So, UAB has their new head football coach.
Interesting hire.
Yeah,
outside of the box here.
You will get the best of me. You'll get the best of a 42-year-old football life that's had some of the greatest people in the game influence them. None more than my dad, who's sitting right there, who started me on this football journey on the back of a blocking sled. But I've been shaped by some of the greatest football minds that have ever coached. And you will get the very best of me. I will be relentless in my work ethic. I will be passionate about what I do.
Trent Dilfer, former NFL Super Bowl quarterback.
I mean, some people were asking me about it, and they're like, this is kind of a weird hire. I think it was outside the box. I mean, if Bill Clark's not coming back and doesn't feel like he can physically do the job, I mean, you're wanting look, you're in a state where you've got Alabama and Auburn, okay, who draw all the headlines. Nick Saban is whether people like him or don't like him, and there are people that don't, and he is revered in this state. But I will say this: even people that don't like him understand he's the GOAT as far as the best coach in the country, and so he's the most high-profile, head coach there is. And now Auburn has, as polarizing as he is with his personal issues off the field and with his NCAA issues, there's also no question with his record that Hugh Freeze has won a lot of games and is now at a preeminent institution in his own right. Because Alabama and Auburn, I still say, I know how many, we talked about this the other day, about all this stuff from Fox talking about how many millions of people viewed Ohio State and Michigan.
17 million. I'm tired of hearing about that. Yeah,
Look. I still think that Alabama-Auburn is the most preeminent rivalry in all of college football, simply because it's in the same state and because it's talked about 365 days a year. Do I think Ohio State and Michigan's probably right behind it? Yes, I understand that. Yeah. But they're in separate states. This is the best in-state rivalry there is. But how are you going to make headlines if you're UAB? Bill Clark won a lot of games and got him some publicity, but Trent Dilfer is nationally known. He was a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a good player in the NFL, and he became very well known with his work at the Elite 11, and then decided to go into high school coaching in the Southeast, so at least he's familiar with the landscape. I think it's a very interesting hire.
I think a lot of people were scared they were going to go back to the Garrett McGee, Neil Callaway days.
Oh, Lord.
And I mean, I think that's why they're nervous. But anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk SEC championship.
It's interesting because Trent Dilfer kind of got started later in his career. He didn't become a coach immediately after he retired, so I think it's interesting.
All right. This state is loaded, though, with top college football talent. Mm-hmm. Loaded with coaching talent all over the place. Hour 2 kicks off next.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, Managing Partner at University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Alabama A&M University football. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com and view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see ya in the Kia. Go Bulldogs!
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It's got a new wreck in Decatur, Beltline, and Veterans. That one's coming in as a no injury. Still may be working on 72 in Lucas Ferry and Limestone County. Had a lot of blockage there. Sparkman and Aspen had an injury. Ready section in Carter Grove had an overturned vehicle with an injury involved. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe, insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny sky this afternoon, but it is definitely going to be on the cooler end of the spectrum. You're going to want to keep a jacket handy all afternoon. Temperatures only climbing into the upper 40s and lower 50s, dropping into the upper 30s and lower 40s as we head into the overnight. Mostly cloudy sky for the final day of the work week. An isolated shower certainly can't be ruled out, but temperatures are going to climb into the upper 50s and lower 60s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
SEC Championship game Saturday, 14th-ranked LSU faces top-ranked Georgia in Atlanta. The Bulldogs a 17.5-point favorite. In the Sun Belt Championship, Troy faces Coastal Carolina. The Trojans minus 8.5. NBA, only one game tonight. The Mavericks in Detroit against the Pistons. Detroit a 7.5-point home underdog, 221.5 the set total. The Bills a 4-point favorite on the road tonight against the Patriots to kick off Week 13. On Sunday, the Falcons at home against the Steelers. Atlanta a 1-point underdog. The Saints playing on Monday night at the Bucks. New Orleans plus 3.5. Red Hot winning picks at experts.winnersandwhiners.com. Save 75% on any best bet package with the promo code ACTION75. That's ACTION75 at experts.winnersandwhiners.com.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And it is strange. It has only happened a couple times in the last, 5 years? That when we talk the SEC championship, we are not talking about either Alabama or Auburn being in the SEC championship game. I know LSU was there a couple years ago, but Alabama and Auburn have kind of, mainly Alabama, have dominated making that trip over to Atlanta. But nonetheless, the SEC championship game is Saturday. 97.7 ESPN The Zone is still your home for the SEC championship game. We'll have that game at 3 o'clock. Georgia, a 17.5-point favorite in this one. Your over-under is 51 points. And LSU, before that Texas A&M loss was, okay, maybe this LSU team has what it takes to get by Georgia. Then they go and lay an egg against Dirt Neck and Texas A&M, and now it's like, okay, I don't know so much. But Georgia, on the other hand, they've just been steady Eddie pretty much the whole way.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've done a great job of stacking talent, even with Nolan Smith being out. Of course it hurts, but they still have so many good players, and their offense this year to me has been more dynamic. I'm still not sure they're going to cover the number, but I'm not taking a shot at Georgia at all in that. I just think that LSU will play hard. I think they'll play tough, but I also don't see a path to Georgia losing this game. But we're going to talk about that with our next guest, and I think it's a big deal for Georgia to win this because they have a lot of history in the SEC championship game. It's one that Kirby Smart, he's won it one time at Georgia, so he's like to win that second SEC title. He didn't get it last year, though he did climb the biggest mountaintop, and that's being the defending national champs. But this year they got a chance to go undefeated. They got a chance to go 15-0, and they got a chance to be SEC champs. And who better to break that all down? He is the lead editor for, as we said, Dogs Daily FN, of course, and that's Brooks Austin. He's with us now. Also a recruiting analyst for SI All-American. They're part of the SI, the Sports Illustrated Network, and he's going to join us now and talk some Georgia Bulldogs in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. Brooks, welcome back, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, Drew. How are you guys over there?
We are great.
Hanging in there.
I mean, am I right, though? I mean, this is a big deal. You talked about Georgia having such an extensive history in the game, and they do. They didn't win it last year. I know they'd like to win it for the second time under Kirby. They did that in very impressive fashion against Auburn in 2017, 28-7. But this is an LSU team that's wounded. I still think they can play a competitive game, but I just don't see a path to Georgia not winning this football game.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Kirby Smart has just as many national titles as he does SEC titles.
I mean, it's crazy, yeah.
Wow.
As a head coach, even though it seems like he's there every single year. It just tells you how hard the Bama hurdle really was to get over. And that 2019 buzzsaw that was LSU.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just kind of contextualizes just like how hard this conference is to win. So, yeah, I mean, first time that, second time opportunity to win the conference. It's a major game for them, despite the fact that, people will tell you that this game doesn't mean anything, right? we'll have an article coming out on Dogs Daily today, just kind of quantifying and contextualizing what seeding means in the playoff. Kind of looking at the history of how well do 1 seeds do, how well do 3 seeds do, because that's kind of what's on the line for Georgia this weekend, or 1 or a 3 seed, unless LSU comes out and wins by 21 points, and then I guess you're looking at a 4 seed. But yeah, playoffs are wrapped up. But as far as LSU goes, I see that offense. I watched them a lot last night. That offense is just kind of winning off Jaden Daniels being kind of special right now. Mm-hmm. They got 2 suspects at tackle. I mean, absolute huntable football players, young football players that are getting sought after every single Saturday. And it looks like Five's just kind of moving the offense by himself. So maybe Jaden Daniels can turn in something special, but he's been in a boot all week, man. It's not looking great.
That's right.
What's the mood of this team going into this game? They have a tough one against Kentucky. They have Georgia Tech last week. What's the mood? What's the frame? Is this team feeling good about itself coming into Atlanta?
Well, one thing I know about the program at Georgia is that they're like footing the gas 365. Like, there's really no I mean, you lick your wounds after the rare losses nowadays around there, but it really is a machine. I mean, like, there's no like up and down. It's not like they feel good one week, feel bad the next week. I mean, yeah, they're young kids. They have bad practices every once in a while, but the mood is the mood. The execution is the execution. They're great football players. I thought Kentucky was a really cold, windy football game. I thought last week against Tech, people thought they had a slow start. Guys, they had 4 possessions in the first half. They scored on 2 of them. They went 3 and out on their first possession, and then the last possession they had right before the half, they got a face mask penalty called on them on 4th and 2 against the offensive ball carrier. Like, really weird stuff in the first half, and it looked slow, but they scored on half the possessions and had a fluky, kind of stop on the next one. So the only team that I've really seen come out and just like out execute and bully Georgia and punch them in the throat and in the face was Missouri for 2 quarters. And then Georgia rushed for 170 yards in the second half. So it kind of eventually wears its toll. I mean, every team has this happen to them, it seems like now, against Georgia. It's just like in the fourth quarter, man, you feel like you fought Tyson for 12 rounds, and you're just going to get knocked out.
Well, that's what happened to Alabama last year. I mean, it was 18-14 Alabama led, and then Georgia just kept punching, and then ran the football, and then we know that Stetson, made 2 or 3 really big plays with his arm and with his feet, and Georgia was able to pull away and win the game 33-18. Kylie Ringo picks the ball off, runs it back. I mean, Georgia just outlasted Alabama. It was a battle of attrition. Injuries are part of the game. That's what happened. Georgia won the game, and this it's just like the way Georgia dealt with the Nolan Smith injury. Of course, it's not ideal. He's a great player. He came back for his senior year, but it's what before we brought you on, we were talking about stacking, and Georgia stacked their roster and they recruited well, and they're able to. It's what Alabama did in 2017 when they beat Georgia. They were able to withstand it. They had injuries, but they had freshmen that were ready to roll. Didn't have them last year. That's why they didn't win. And so this time, Georgia has got that depth. The depth is what's the most important thing, because it goes back to what you just said about Jaden Daniels being in a boot. Josh Williams, their leading rusher, the Cinderella story, he didn't play last week. A lot of times, though, it's about how healthy you are late in the season.
Dude, I watch them every week, and they wouldn't be as deep right now if they didn't hit as much as they do on the recruiting trail.
Right.
I mean, 5 stars are 5 stars, don't get me wrong. But, guys, they had to hit on Malachi Starks. If Malachi Starks isn't starting at safety right now and balling out, like playing freshman All-American level safety right now, they're not as good of a defense as they are. If Mykel Williams wasn't ready to roll as a true freshman week 1 against Oregon, they're not ready. They don't bounce back from Trayvon Walker's loss as well as they seemingly have, right? If Jamon Dumas-Johnson and Smile Mondon weren't absolutely ready to play as redshirt freshmen, Kamari Laster, if you're not ready to go as a redshirt freshman, your first year starting in the SEC, then we're just not going to be as good as we were last year. And that's going to be okay, but we're going to have to, figure that out offensively. And that's what everyone thought it was going to be. And then these young guys walk out here, and they look like the guys of old, just a little bit young. They look a little bit slow in processing early in the year, and now that defense is humming. Now those guys are communicating. You watch them on film, they look like they did last year in terms of alignment and assignment, getting where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. And that's, 90% of defensive football nowadays with pace and space offense.
So Georgia plays Saturday in the SEC championship game. Is this a case where it's back-to-back games inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the Georgia Bulldogs?
I mean, they're a 17-point favorite. I don't see a path to LSU winning. I mean, I know that sounds bad,
right?
But I mean, it's college football. Anything can happen. Don't get me wrong. But the defensive line and the defensive front, what they have had to do to keep the edge rusher 40, I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden.
Harold Perkins, yeah.
The things they're having to do personnel-wise to keep Perkins on the field as an edge rusher on early downs and all passing downs nowadays, or early downs as well. The things they're having to do that are having to lighten the front. They're having to take 11 off the field, keep 18 on the field, and put 40 as a stand-up edge rusher. Well, he's a great pass rusher right now. But that dude can't hold up in the run, not against what Georgia's about to do. Georgia's about to go too tight, run counter at your butt probably 20 times tomorrow, Saturday, and you're going to have to stop it. And no one really has yet. And that front, over the last 2 weeks, has been absolutely gutted. I mean, gutted on the ground because of this, because they're smaller, they're undersized, they're great against the pass, they can get after the quarterback, but Georgia don't do that. Georgia doesn't just stand in the pocket and throw the ball 30 times. They move the quarterback more and better than probably anybody in college football. Stetson throws from a variety of launch points all 4 quarters. It's really, really hard to get him on the ground, not only because he's a great athlete, but because he's throwing it from 12 different spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you bring up Stetson Bennett. I mean, his touchdowns are not as many as last year, but his yards are better than last year. Senior year for this guy. I mean, all he's done is continue to win and look the part of an SEC quarterback.
Super senior year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's a really, I think he's a really great college football player, and I enjoy studying him because he does all the right things that quarterbacks are supposed to do. He plays on time. He's always going through his reads. He's a full field reader. I mean, he'll start at 1, he'll move to 2, he'll work to 3, and get to 4 if he's got to. I mean, he's thrown one of his touchdown passes this year was, I mean, he's only got 7 of them, I think, or maybe I don't know. It's very, very few. He's got 7 rushing touchdowns and 14 passing, I believe is the split. It's not a ton, but the yardage is great. It's kind of the epitome of their offense. But one of the best throws he had this year was a backside dig to Dylan Bell, and he works all the way through the read and hits Dylan Bell on the 4 side. So I think he's an NFL guy. He's just not getting a lot of credit because he's not in an offense that's throwing it 42 times a game like most high school or most college offenses are. And they don't really make it easy on him either. He'll have a couple of screen passes in the offense, but man, he's turning his back to the defense a lot. They're doing a lot of under center, heavy play action. They're rolling him. They're making him throw on the run a ton, like we were talking about a little bit earlier. This isn't, a pick and stick offense like most college offenses are. You watch USC, and USC is, all right, Caleb, work the left side of the field. We got a screen going to the right. All right, everybody work the screen, but we're really working the left side of the field. All right, and he's doing great stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's really easy, and they're racking up a bunch of yardage and touchdowns. Not the case with Stetson, but I think he's playing great.
Yeah, I think there's no question about that. I think the offensive line has. And I think the thing that Georgia has done this year, that has been consistent with them is they've gotten better. Their running game was a little spotty early, but it's really improved. And you just talked about you think they're going to give a big dose of physicality to LSU. And that's why I think, depending on the matchups in the college football playoff, like if everything holds, Georgia will be the 1 and SC will be the 2. And you talked about the story you guys got coming out, Brooks. But I still think SC, it would be an interesting game because of their explosiveness offensively. But I still think when you talk about the trenches, it's going to be a mismatch, and Georgia will be able to run the ball on the Trojans.
Yeah, I was going back watching them against UCLA. They're just not big enough up front. I mean, on both sides of the football.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of what SEC coaches talk about every week when you listen to them on the podium. They talk about how it's hard to run the football in this conference, and it's important to have big guys up front, and it's physical, right? It's a big physical sport in this conference. If you can't line up and match up with it, then you're going to get folded. You're going to get bent backwards a lot. And I think Michigan felt this a lot last year. And we're talking about Michigan, okay? That was a physical football team. They thought they were from the Big Ten. I mean, they were Joe Moore award-winning offensive line. And then Trayvon Walker about broke a face mask in the first quarter. Okay, so it's hard to assimilate what these dudes do in practice for 12 months out of the year. I think, watching guys come from the West Coast and experience in SEC football is fun. It's fun to me to watch that happen. And it happens every single year at places like the Adidas All-American game, where they still play West versus East in the high school All-American games. And they see these dudes from the Southeast, and they're like, holy crap. I mean, it's like a gulp moment where they're like, oh, no, dude, that's a different physical specimen. The athletes are the same. Those boys from the closest to the ball, that's a different breed down here in the Southeast.
It is. And how big is it for Kenny McIntosh, who I knew this dude was going to be ready to step into a role, when my boy James Cook left, because I really loved Cook. But McIntosh is a very versatile guy. As you guys pointed out, though, on Dogs Daily, he has only averaged about 10 carries per game. How big is it going to be to have someone like him fresh for this game coming up and really everything going forward, which is postseason?
One thing Kirby doesn't do and hasn't done since, I think, Chubb and Michelle,
right,
is give a guy like 300 carries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they haven't fed one back or two backs in a minute. I mean, it's been a while. So the thing that's impressed me most about Kenny is his ability to play through pain this year. I mean, he's kind of been battling a thigh bruise basically since Missouri, since the week of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And he played all the way through it. That's something in years past that we didn't really see. Like, I think in 2021, during the Natty run, he missed 2 games for a hammy tightness. I think in 2020, he had a calf bruise or something, or a shin splint or something going on. So, like, there's been things that have knocked him out of the lineup and things that have made me kind of question whether or not you can be a 1,000-yard all-purpose guy, which is what he was this year during the regular season. It's 600 yards rushing and 400 yards receiving. He's the first and only back since Todd Gurley at Georgia to do so. Like, that's special stuff. I mean, and I knew he was a special player, just didn't know he was this durable. But, again, credit to Georgia. They've kept the touches to a minimum and made the touches very, very meaningful and impactful, right? Like, when we're getting Kenny the ball, especially out of the backfield, we're trying to score. Like, that's what we're trying to do right now. We're not just getting the ball down and checking it out to Kenny into the flat just because. They've kind of stopped doing that. It's more of, we're designing a shot for 6 right now.
Is there a way, when you look at this Georgia defense, and they have been outstanding, but is there a concern for you that LSU might be able to take advantage of this LSU defense or this Georgia defense anywhere? Is there something that you're saying, hey, Georgia needs to make sure they do this because they haven't been doing this very well?
Through 12 games, after 4 quarters, it doesn't even take that long. I would say after about 3 possessions, offensive coordinators come to the realization that the only way we are going to move the football today is to just try to hit one of these deep shots.
Okay.
That's it. We're just going to have to throw the ball up. Down set, hut, get to the top of your drop, quarterback, and throw that SOB up and hope our guy comes down with it. That has been the MO for all of these offenses. Kentucky resulted to that. Their whole offense, I think they had 200 yards of total offense. I think 100 of them came on 2 pass completions because it was down set, hut, throw it up. That is what offense has boiled down to for a lot of these teams. And, yeah, when you watch Georgia, you'll see Javon Ballard got beat twice last week in the slot. A couple weeks ago, Keely Ringo got beat. The 3 weeks ago, it was Kamari Lassiter, right, against Kentucky. Like, this stuff happens because that's what offense resulted to. It's not that, you can run the ball on Georgia today. No, that ain't happened this year. It ain't, you can stack drives against Georgia today. No, that ain't really happened this year. It ain't, they're giving up explosives deep today, consistently on double moves. No, it ain't that. It's been, we bombed you once. We beat one corner. We beat one nickel defensive back. That's it. That's been the whole offense against Georgia this year.
Yeah, it really has. And the big key, though, is this has been a relatively, besides Nolan Smith, a healthy team. You just talked about Kenny's been a little banged up with the thigh bruise. What about Adonai Mitchell? Adonai Mitchell made maybe the biggest catch in Georgia history last year, 40-yarder against Bama to get them the lead that they never relinquished. How healthy is he going into this game?
Guys, what was that little microsurgery Tua had on his ankle? What's that called?
Yeah, the tightrope. Yeah.
Tightrope, whatever that thing is, that they do a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Basically go in there and repair it real quick so you can get back in 4 weeks and feel good as new, superhuman stuff. Apparently he wasn't a candidate for that. So he had a high ankle sprain against Sanford, okay? Mm-hmm. And high ankles are real finicky now. This he rolled his ankle. This is a super twitchy athlete that's got to jump and cut, that's got a high ankle sprain. So I immediately thought 4 to 6 weeks at that moment. So about 4 weeks later, he comes back for Auburn, and they put him in like midway through the second quarter. I mean, not first quarter, not when he's hot, not when the adrenaline's running. They got a 21-point lead and then threw him out there to block for a couple of snaps. And he looked like dog doo-doo. And apparently he re-aggravated it right then and there. And now we got a high ankle sprain we're like 11 weeks into this thing, dude. So if A.D. Mitchell plays on Saturday, that's great.
Yeah.
He's got to catch like 3 or 4 balls before I'm like, yep, A.D. Mitchell's back. If he's just like last week, they ran him out there on 4th down, on 4th and 2, when they did a freeze play and then called timeout. And he looked frustrated, like he wanted the ball, but the ball was never coming to him, but he wanted the ball. I don't know. It's weird. The whole thing's weird. Injury was weird. Recovery time was weird. Retweaking it, how they put him back in was weird. I've had a lot of high ankle sprains, boys. That one's weird. That's a whole weird.
No question. Well, Brooks, before we let you go, how do you see this playing out? What are the keys for Georgia? And I picked just slightly under the number. I picked 34-21, that would be a late touchdown that's kind of meaningless for LSU, where Georgia would be covering, and then it would be a backdoor cover for the Tigers. But how do you see this?
Man, I don't want to go out on too far of a limb here because I know you guys have a lot of people listen to you. But I spent like 3 hours watching these guys against Alabama. I always study teams that Georgia's playing if they've played Bama. Always go take that tape because they're very similar defenses.
Yeah,
they do the same stuff. Dude, I watched LSU for 4 possessions. I watched 17 plays. They were in empty 12 times. 12 out of 17 snaps, they were in empty. They were just drop back, throw the football. And they threw the ball, I think 14 of those 17 snaps, or tried to drop back pass 14 out of those 17 snaps. Not once did they take a deep shot. And the only way they moved the football is if Jaden Daniels somehow scrambled for 4 yards without getting his head taken off. It is a very, very confusing idea to me that LSU is standing here today. The only thing I can think about is the SEC West must just be really, really bad this year. And I haven't watched the SEC West a ton, but this is a very, very flawed football team in LSU that is walking up in here to the SEC championship game. Their defensive tackle is 6 foot, 292 pounds.
Yeah.
Georgia's. I mean, this is not an SEC West champion LSU team. This is not what it looks like, in my opinion. This is year one Brian Kelly cleaning up a mess, and somehow they got here. So, golf claps for everybody around. But 17.5 points is correct. All right, Vegas knows what I know. These two football teams are on 2 totally different planets right now. All right.
Yeah, well, that's some great stuff from Brooks Austin, and that's why he's the film guy. He grinds a lot of tape, studies a lot, and that's why he's one of the best in the business, and why we go to him to talk Georgia.
2 freshman tackles, absolute dog food. They're going to be good football players,
right?
But they are dog food. They are going to get hunted for 4 quarters Saturday. Okay, it's gonna look like Jaden Daniels is running like a chicken with his head cut off. I can't imagine that it doesn't.
Well, if he's in a boot, he may, like I say, man, if he can't get away from this rush, he may not finish the game. That's what's going to be interesting. I may be giving LSU too much credit.
What they will result, they'll just result into being a get it out in the flat via screen team, and they'll go 3 and out a ton, and hopefully one of them receivers makes a play. That'll be what the offense has to result to. They're going to get it out of his hand. They won't let him get hit. He's not a bad coach. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah,
not a bad coach. He's going to protect that guy, but they got a lot of flaws. They are a flawed football team.
Well, they are. Well, thank you, Brooks. We appreciate it. Let everybody know how to connect with your work and follow you guys' coverage from Atlanta.
Yeah, you can hit me up at Brooks Austin BA, and just search dogsdaily.com on any of your internet websites. So, shouts out. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll flip the script. What does LSU got to do to get a win? Matt Moscona will fill us in next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got an accident on the Arsenal, 4000 block of Federal Drive. That's in the FBI complex area off Mart Road. That one is reported as an injury type. Beltline and Veterans Indicator should be clearing. 72 in Lucas, Limestone County. Haven't heard an update. Sparkman and Aspen had an injury. Reddy Section in Carter Grove had an overturned vehicle with an injury. Someone dies from heart disease every 36 seconds. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace can help keep your heart healthy. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Hello, listeners. I want to tell you a little bit about Minuteman Press and what we have to offer our community. We specialize in paper printing and can help from designing your piece to the finished product. We print media guides for many of the athletic departments at high schools and universities around the area. We typically purchase sponsorships from these schools as well to try and help them with their fundraising. Once we have reached our new normal, we also print all types of marketing materials for you to hand out either in person, via mail, or at various trade shows and events. At Minuteman Press, we're not just putting ink on paper, we're building relationships.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
AVIQ. Who is AVIQ? AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing: helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourselfer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit AVIQHSV.com.
Men, are you having performance issues in the bedroom? Is erectile dysfunction affecting your confidence and self-esteem? Is your relationship being impacted? If ED is a problem in your life, maybe it's time to make the last time you had bad sex the last time you'll have bad sex. At the Huntsville Men's Clinic, we've successfully treated many men in the area for ED and given them back their confidence, their positivity, and in many cases, helped their relationships. Our expertise is second to none, and our practice is staffed by quality medical professionals. Beyond this, the treatments we use have proven success rates as high as 90%. And unlike online pharmacies that just sell pills or wave clinics that only offer one treatment option, we have a variety of treatment protocols, including acoustic wave therapy. We found that sometimes a combination of therapies works best, and a one-size-fits-all approach can't get you there. So make the call. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. Call 256-368-0333 or go to HuntsvilleMen'sClinic.com.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas, and if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
And welcome back, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN Zone. And we were talking Georgia in the last segment on what the Georgia Bulldogs have to do and how confident they are going into Saturday's game. And you would think the LSU Tigers would feel confident, but I'm wondering how confident after their Texas A&M performance.
Yeah.
Because going into that Texas A&M game, you know, there was still belief that, not belief, but the question was, hey, if LSU could pull off the win against Georgia in the SEC championship game, do you take a 2-loss LSU team to the college football playoffs with beating Georgia? You know, there was a lot of buzz surrounding the LSU Tigers. Then you go to Texas A&M and you have a setback.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning of the year, if you set back that game to Texas A&M, okay, if you're at 7-8 wins, you're going to a bowl game. It's a great first-year building block for Brian Kelly. Then you beat Alabama and you go to the you go to the title game, and now that LSU lost, or the Texas A&M loss, looks a little disappointing.
Well, it is, and I mean, certainly LSU's had a great first year when you take all things into account with the way the roster was constituted when he took over. I mean, it's been a remarkable year for Brian Kelly. I would still say probably SEC Coach of the Year to me. With what he's been able to accomplish. And we're going to talk about this game with our next guest. And, of course, he hosts After Further Review from 3 to 6 every Monday through Friday, part of ESPN 104.5 in Baton Rouge. Does a great job. He's a must-follow on Instagram, gives you great takes, and we appreciate his time this morning. And that's Matt Moscona. He's back with us this morning. Matt, welcome back.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. Would it be fair to say, I think this LSU team, watching them all year, I felt like each week they improved. There was no steps back. I know they didn't play as well as they needed to play to beat Florida State, but they really, after that game, they cleaned some things up. They got better, I think, every week. They certainly beat Alabama and Baton Rouge. This was the first time that I thought during the regular season, even though the Arkansas game wasn't pretty, that we saw LSU take a step back in College Station.
Yeah, that's fair, Drew. I mean, we could point out the Tennessee game, which was
but
that was a game I think where that was a bad matchup for LSU. Tennessee was a bad matchup for a lot of people, but LSU fumbled the opening kickoff, and that was just LSU secondary struggled at times this year, and Tennessee was phenomenal throwing the football. So, but yes, it's fair to say that, Drew. And that was sort of the talking point around here all year, is you had a team that was consistently improving week to week, man, which is why that A&M thing came from out of left field. I think we've all talked about it a lot, that LSU isn't a team with a deep enough roster to roll their helmets out there and just beat anybody. Like, Georgia is. Georgia's good enough that they can not play their best and still beat essentially anybody on their schedule. LSU's not, and they went and kind of just sleepwalked through that game a little bit. Man, they got popped by a team that was looking to maybe finish their season on a positive note.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then, I mean, now you look, and now you got the SEC championship game. Obviously, it doesn't take much to get the attention of the guys now. I mean, this is a big game. Obviously, I don't expect to see that same LSU squad on Saturday, but are they beat up too much to where
the health is the issue?
They go into this game kind of one-legged.
So, honestly, guys, this has been about as healthy an LSU season as I can remember in a long time. They've largely avoided the really major injury. I mean, Mason Smith, who was probably their best defensive player, got injured on the first defensive series of the season, tore his ACL and missed the season. But, man, other than that, by and large, they've stayed pretty healthy. I know Jaden's ankle got tweaked a little bit against A&M, but he's practicing this week. I think he'll be good to go. They'll tape that thing up, and he'll make it work. But man, they've largely avoided the big catastrophic injury this year. So there's just spots where they're not very deep as a matter of transfer portal roster construction, and Brian Kelly will have to address that through recruiting. But I don't think that if they don't play well this week, and I certainly don't think injuries were any excuse as to what happened in College Station. It was a matter of a team that really needs to lock in and play their best that did and ran up against A&M, which was a pretty motivated team that day.
And are we going to see Josh Williams, because he's been such a great story for this LSU program. I mean, he certainly ran like his hair was on fire against Alabama. We've seen him all year. He wasn't talked about in the preseason. I mean, watching you guys and the Whiskey and Wine post game and your Instagram and your takes on this. Josh Williams was somebody. We talked to Sonny Shipp about this. I know you know Sonny. He was joking about how, man, I mean, when we were in the preseason, he goes, I remember when we did our preview and we barely mentioned this guy. And he becomes the primary ball carrier. Is he going to be good to go? Is he going to be a big factor in LSU trying to make this game competitive on Saturday?
Yeah, Josh had a strained knee, and so they sat him the last two games. My contention is that if they were playing Georgia either the last 2 weeks, he would have played.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of those things where they felt like they could rest him. And look, LSU's most dynamic runner is John Emery. He's had some bursts this year.
He looked great last game. Oh.
He did. He scored 3 touchdowns, and look, he had the great touchdown catch against Bama where he on the wheel route where he put his foot in the ground and spun back in. And John Emery was a 5-star, and he's phenomenal. But Josh Williams has been the guy this year. When you need a yard, he's going to get you 2. When you need 2, he's going to get you 3. He's always moving forward, and he's a 3-down back, and that he can help you in the pass game, and he's also a really good pass protector as well. Josh Williams doesn't have a pro future. He doesn't have the size, the measurables, the dynamic ability to really jump off of the tape for NFL scouts. But as a college running back, he's been a really good player for this team this year, and it's I don't know where this running game would be without him being as consistent as he's been this year. So it'll definitely help to have him back on Saturday.
Harold Perkins, outstanding freshman season. Where does he rank? Where do you put him among the? I mean, LSU's had some dynamic players come in on their freshman year. Where do you put this season for Harold Perkins among the best LSU freshman years?
Yeah, golly, it's if you just look at even linebackers, it's hard to find a true freshman linebacker that's had this kind of impact. I mean, you might go back to someone like Trev Falk or Brady James, back in like '99.
Wow.
It's just rare at that position. You see a true freshman step on the field and be ready to be a 3-down guy. And Harold's that, He certainly made some plays that remind people of Tyrann Mathieu, his ability to wreak havoc and create turnovers. And I don't ever use that name lightly. I understand the comparison that it draws. But, I mean, there's been some great freshman seasons for offensive players. I mean, Justin Vincent was an All-American as a freshman on the 2003 National Championship team. Yeah, I mean, there's guys. Fournette had a 1,000-yard rusher as a freshman. But, man, what Harold Perkins has done, the way he's impacted the game, I mean, guys, he really didn't even emerge as as a consistent contributor till the Ole Miss game. So I mean, you're talking about middle of October when they finally figured out how to get him on the field with B.J. Ojulari, because they play the same position. So Brian Kelly thinks, look, if we put Perkins on the field, we got to take Ojulari off. So the challenge was finding a way to get both those guys on the field at the same time. And once they figured that out, it definitely took this defense to a next level. He's been pretty awesome.
Well, and Matt, I've got to ask you about the outlook for this game. I know LSU, as you said, besides the season loss for Mason Smith, has really stayed relatively healthy. I still think this team is going to play a very competitive game Saturday. I predicted 34-21 Georgia. I think they're going to backdoor cover this. I think they're going to play hard. I'm just not sure they're deep enough to win this game. What is your overall feel for it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason the line's 17.5. And I mean, Georgia's lost one game in 2 years. I mean, they're awesome. They're the best team in the country, and if LSU upsets them, I think it'll be the biggest upset in the history of the SEC championship game.
Wow, that's
certainly by point. Certainly by point spread, it would be. I mean, in 2001, LSU was a 3-loss team and beat number 2 Tennessee. I mean,
that's probably I'd say that was probably the biggest upset up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any delusions of grandeur here. I think people understand what LSU's up against with Georgia. Georgia's a better team; they're deeper. The thing I'll tell you about Georgia, if you want the sort of argument or the roadmap for LSU, there's been times this year where Georgia just looks like they're bored and playing with their, being in a dogfight with Kent State. Missouri had them beat, guys. I mean,
that's
Missouri
true.
kicked 5 field goals in that game, and 3 of those field goals were inside of 30 yards. Missouri just couldn't finish drives. Stetson Bennett sometimes, I think, is careless with the football. They got a negative turnover margin for the season. I mean, that's really your roadmap if you're LSU. You got to win the turnover battle. I mean, I know that's cliche, but you've got to be able to take the ball away, take advantage of some short fields. And the other thing I've been saying all this week, guys, the only team to beat Georgia the last 2 years, you all know, was Alabama last year, the championship game. I think people forget the day Bryce Young had in that game.
Yes.
Bryce Young threw for 421 yards in that game. And Jamison Williams had about 180 receiving. Bama knew they weren't going to run against that Georgia front. And so they decided our advantage is with our dynamic quarterback and receivers. We're going to sling it. And it worked. And I think if you look at this LSU team, its deepest, most talented skill group on the team is receiver. That's not even debatable. So I think that's LSU's opportunity in this game. I'm not saying it's likely. I might put LSU's chance at like 20%. But I think that's it. If these receivers can wiggle free and hit some big plays, chunk plays, and you make Georgia a little uncomfortable and they turn the ball over, that's your path to winning it. Again, guys, I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not going to pick LSU to win the game, but if they do, I think that's how it's got to look.
Well, and Matt, as we were wrapping it up with you, great thoughts on LSU and Intel, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the situation now. We know with the college football playoff being expanded by 2024, the Rose Bowl getting smart, deciding to play ball. To me, this is setting up for the SEC to dominate this playoff. What are your thoughts about the future of the sport?
Thank God. Thank God. Thank God we no longer have to watch people in a hotel ballroom in Dallas just determine things like strength of schedule and game control and who they think is the best. Anybody that argues against an expanded playoff is doing nothing but guzzling regurgitated bile that's been shoved down college football fans' collective throats for generations. The sacred regular season and all this nonsense. College football is the only sport in the world, in the history of mankind, when you can win every game you play and not even have a chance to play for a championship. Anybody that would be against deciding it on the field and having more football, you're outside of your mind. Games on campus in the first round of the playoff, like, who doesn't want to see that? Like, what Alabama fan wouldn't want to host Utah in a first-round playoff game at Bryant-Denny next weekend? Come on, man. Like, it makes so much sense. it's awful that it took this long to get to this point, but finally we're going to see something resembling a real playoff, which you can tell, guys, like I am fired up to see it. I would have told the Rose Bowl to kick rocks if they didn't want to partake.
Thank you.
The fact that we actually allowed college football's postseason to be held hostage by a parade and a pretty sunset is absurd. I mean, it speaks to the point, y'all. I mean, it's just thank God we can move on.
This is an awesome take. Well, Matt, we appreciate that. I'm glad I've been saying kick rocks myself. Perfectly stated. I love it, man. Thank you for the intel, and enjoy the game on Saturday in LSU. We always appreciate your time, and have a great rest of your week, man.
Okay, guys, we'll see you.
I completely agree with Matt. Kick rocks, Rose Bowl, if you don't want to get with it. Who cares about a parade and a sunset?
Look, when the Rose Bowl initially was making this decision for the BCS, way back in the day, I was like, oh my gosh. Part of me was like, I really wanted to see the Big Ten. The Pac-12
you grew up in Iowa. It was a big, as you said, it was a big deal for the Big Ten and the Pac-12.
I am to the point where, it is time for a change. The Rose Bowl's had its moment.
Yes.
Just like every other bowl game.
That's what I was trying to tell Jeff this morning. I mean, he's ranting about a parade and all this stuff and a governor that's an idiot. And, I mean, you've just got to understand that things change.
Yeah.
And, and the Rose Bowl will still be a part of it. It just won't have – the parade won't be as big a deal, and it's not going to probably be on January 1st every year. But they're still going to have one. And it's going to be a part of a playoff that's a big deal. Do you want to be a part of history, or do you want to be ancient history?
Well, yeah, because if you don't be a part of the playoffs, you're going to be ancient history.
You are.
And but what does that say, though, about the other bowls that aren't going to be a part of this? I mean, that's kind of where they're all going to be. Not a part of, all these other bowls are probably going to kind of just fall off.
There's still going to be postseason for other programs. It's going to be I'm going to be interested to see what the future is of FCS competition and if that expands somewhat and if you end up with almost an expanded FCS. And what I mean by that is there a almost a group of 5 kind of championship? Do they eventually go there?
Kind of get their own playoffs going.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, and then it would allow more teams to move up the chain, so to speak, and what Jacksonville State's doing, moving to Conference USA and things of that nature.
Yep. Let's get that final break in. Your tomorrow's headlines when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We're beginning to wind things down. We got a few wrecks still working you'll need to watch for. Burr Green and Huntsville Browns Ferry reported with injury in Limestone County. And we got the 4,000 block of Federal Drive on the Arsenal near the FBI complex. That one reported as an injury type. Sparkman and Aspen had an injury. Ready section in Carter Grove had an injury in an overturned vehicle. So both of those may still be trying to clear. The $6 big box is back at Popeyes with 2 pieces of the hand-battered Louisiana seasoned chicken, 2 sides, and a buttermilk biscuit. Popeyes, University and Jordan, 72 and Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
YKTA wants you to join their team. YKTA is currently adding machine maintenance and die maintenance positions to their fast-growing company. YKTA has new improved work schedules with built-in days off. Pay range is $25 to $33 based on experience and additional shift differential. And YKTA has opportunities for increased pay above top range through advanced skills training. Apply today at yktal.com/careers. YKTA is an equal opportunity employer. If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
Do you know that your car or truck or SUV may be worth up to 30 or 40% more than it was last year? It's true. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and now is the perfect time to trade in and trade up to a gold certified or blue certified pre-owned car, truck, SUV, or crossover. While our new vehicle inventory continues to build back, our Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles are nearing 100 models to choose from, and a good variety too. Woody Anderson Ford Gold certified vehicles are 6 years or younger with less than 80,000 miles and have passed 172-point inspection by factory certified technicians. They have a 14-day, 1,000-mile money-back guarantee, a great comprehensive limited warranty, 24-hour roadside assistance, and go home with full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. Get nearly a new ride and none of the worries. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan at Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Stu Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze making some staff changes, not bringing in, but bringing guys out. No surprise here. Jeff Schmedding, defensive coordinator, he will not be retained. Wide receivers coach Ike Hilliard will not be retained. Just a couple guys on the way out.
Will Friend, offensive line coach, and he was took over as OC. He will not be retained. Really, it sounds like the only other two besides Carnell Cadillac Williams, who is associate head coach and running backs coach, Christian Robinson, the linebackers coach, who I believe worked with you at Liberty for a bit. He will. He has a chance. It's not been officially announced, but he has a chance to be retained. It sounds as though. And Zach Etheridge, another Auburn graduate who coached the secondary, Scott. Looks like he has a shot, a really good shot to be retained. It sounds like everyone else on field was let go yesterday.
And we did not get to talk about this, but Brent Key named Georgia Tech head coach. He also making staff changes.
Yeah.
And Chip Long not going to be retained on his staff. And, of course, Chip Long, a North Alabama native He's a North Alabama native and,
attended UNA as well. And so he has had several coaching stints, including with Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. And it was even thought to join Nick Saban's staff at one time at Alabama. But Chip Long not going to be retained at Georgia Tech. Brent Key getting that job, going from interim to the permanent head coach, and they played better, when he took over.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see Brent Key, a Hewitt-Trussville graduate, from the state of Alabama, former offensive line coach under Nick Saban, what he does with that Tech program.
And probably one of the best names in all of college football, Kavasier Smoke.
Yep.
In the transfer portal.
Yeah, he's in the transfer portal from Kentucky. He's from Wetumpka. And he's got, I think, at least 1 year of eligibility left. But, hell, it's hard for me to keep up with all this COVID stuff and all that.
That would be what, 2?
We can thank the idiot governor from Michigan and some other people for that. But anyway, it's hard to keep up with the eligibility of some of these people. But but Smoke is in the portal. But interestingly, Kyrie Jackson out of the portal and back to Alabama. He had entered on November the 23rd. He had been suspended, at least for now. He's back out of the portal, so we will see what happens with him. And then, again, we've also seen in the last few days in the transfer portal, Damian George from Alabama goes in, Tanner Bowles, and the interesting one, when we had somebody ask about it in the first hour, was Trayshawn Holden. He goes into the transfer portal. So this is just beginning. It's going to get crazy as the December 5th deadline commences with guys going into the portal. There'll be
follow on 3 Sports.
Yeah, I would say
because it is insanely.
Yeah, I would just say most rosters are going to lose double-digit guys because there's going to be so many. We're talking about backups and guys maybe they're disgruntled that are going to move on. And as I told our caller,
Christian
Hot
Leary's
Rod.
in that.
Yeah, Christian Leary also very good point.
Yeah.
We told Hot Rod again. Holden just his reps and his snaps went down as the year went on.
All right. Our reps and snaps aren't going down. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning. Another 2 hours for our Friday edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, Managing Partner at University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Alabama A&M